Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you, say it with me, cutting-edge conversation while, that's right, exploring the quantum possibilities. And we're doing it again tonight, and it's going to be so much fun. One of my favorite topics. But before we get started, I just want to thank you, as always, for being here. Let me pull up the chat room. Thank you for being in the chat room and the lively conversation that goes on. Make sure if you have any questions, put it in the chat. And if you put it in bold letters, then I'll be able to make sure that I see it, because it might scroll, up. So let's see. There's a couple things I wanted to share with you. Oh, this is some interesting news, and you're getting the dawning of it. This is the first time we're really talking about it. We're starting something new. Broadcast Team Alpha is still going to be the same in that we're going to have our Tuesday night shows. We're going to continue doing the mastermind connection, but now we're going to have an exclusive area where people like you that would like to be part of our inner sanctum can come. It's going to be a membership group, and it's a nominal fee. I mean, it's a really low fee. But the cool thing is, it's a much more intimate forum, of course, than the weekly shows. And it's even going to be a little bit more intimate than the mastermind connection in a different way. The mastermind connection is very focused on creating things, right? Masterminding things, manifesting things. But this is going to be an intimate forum where you get to know us, questions and answers, maybe even a little bit of mentorship if you've got maybe some business stuff you want to pick Augie's brain about. But also there's going to be exclusive content. It's going to be content that's not out in the public forum the way that our other shows are. And it's going to be so much fun. We're going to bring you the best of what we do and some of the gifts and talents that we don't really get to talk about on the weekly shows. Augie's got amazing gifts and talents that he really hasn't shared in this forum, because it's usually about the guests. You know me, I've been a quantum registered nurse for a godzillion years. I've been taking the pulse of humanity and helping individuals and entities heal for a long time. And even now, my gifts and my skills and my offerings have really come online, and they are in the fast lane. So I'll be able to share more of that with you in the membership. So Mac will drop the link below. I'm not sure if it's up and running yet. We're still jumping through some YouTube hoops, but as soon as it's up and you join, we're going to have really great content. And even more, it's an opportunity for you to let us know what you want to hear, what you want us to talk about, what you want us to share, what you would like to see happen. So that's coming. It's very exciting. The other thing that's happening is this Thursday, Augie and I get to share a conference with some of the most incredible thought leaders ever. I mean, I am so humbled to be part of this group on Thursday. It's through the Portal of Ascension. Mac will put the link below. It's a nominal fee for incredible names like Laura Eisenhower, John D'Souza, the legendary Elena Danaan. Who else, Og?
Dan Willis and
Dan
you.
Willis, Dr. Charnel. Huh?
And you.
Oh, and me, yes, and Augie, of course. And I'm going to be talking about not just surviving during these times, but thriving during these times, because, somebody put the universe put their foot on the gas pedal on this incredible spin cycle that we're on right now. And even if you don't know, back in the ethers or in the realms or back where you're not looking, that all of this is happening, it may be showing up in your life. It may be showing up in your body. If all of a sudden your life has turned upside down, sorry, keep bumping the mic. If all of a sudden your health is malfunctioning and you feel like your body is betraying you, if all of a sudden you had a certain economic flow going and that just exploded and blew up, maybe it blew up for the better, maybe it blew up for the not better, right? If all of these things are happening, or if you wake up and you're confused and you don't feel like doing anything and you don't understand your family, you don't understand your spouse anymore, right? Just everything is crazy and upside down. It's because you are in the contraction phase of what's going on. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about how you can come out of it, how you can take care of yourself, how you can heal it, and how you can take a freaking break. Because most of us are still trying to function the way we used to function when we're in the middle of this crazy contraction. So I'm going to be talking about that. Sorry to get on my bandwagon, but I can't help it. So hi to everybody in the chat room. Love you so much. Augie, I'm so excited for our guest. Please tell us about Chris.
I sure will. And also, if you like what you see on this show, please subscribe and click the bell, because then you'll get notifications about the next one,
Yes.
which you're going to love. Anyway, we have Christopher Harmon with us. And this is going to be good, because he is, what should I say? He is almost as far out of the box as I am. Maybe that'll cover it. He's a field investigator from Mufon, and also a counselor working with people who has had UFO or alien encounters and need help in understanding what's really going on, what happened to them, and maybe how to make sense of it so they can live with it. And also another thing, maybe there is something that is not talked much about, and that is that how to stop it from happening again. And yeah, there are ways that you actually could do that. And it just might work for you if you're listening to this and you have had something really goofy happen in your past. And he is also a paranormal investigator with SWPI. That stands for Something Wicked Paranormal Investigation. That's very appropriate.
That's fun.
And he is also a pro photographer. And he's got several degrees in astronomy and space science. Oh, I got a question on space science for him. It's going to be a good one. I'm sure it'll be a good answer, too. So I've been talking too much. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
Welcome, Chris.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really good.
How's
So-
everybody doing?
Everything's so good. It's so good to be here with you. I'm very excited. And I like to, because inquiring minds like to know, I like to just ask a quick question about the guest, about you. How did all this start for you? Did it begin when you were a little kid and you noticed weird stuff? Or tell us how, what unfolded for you to bring you to where you are today?
Well, actually, when I was a kid, my plan was to become a rock and roll star, but I found myself more interested in Star Trek, and then I got into more to photography and even into the paranormal. And as years went on, I found myself really studying space outside, looking up in the sky, and just fascinated as to what all was out there. I mean, you'd hear stories on TV about like Star Trek and aliens and stuff, and I wanted to experience it. It was probably when I was 16 or 17 years old. I was looking out in the sky one night, as I normally would, and I saw this weird kind of like a craft with lights that was kind of rotating, like, and I said, what in the world's that? Well, about that same time it vanished, just like that, just there it is, there it ain't. And that stuck with me for a long time. And that was my first, I can honestly say, my first experience with UFOs.
Wow.
They,
Yep. Many of us started when we were little, right? That's awesome. Really awesome. So what is the bulk of your work right now? What's on the front burner for you? What's going on?
right now I'm in the middle of doing some UFO cases and working with a couple of experiencers and getting ready to film a paranormal episode next month. And we're actually filming that on the week of Halloween, which should help anticipate or electrify the activity. And
Very
that pretty much sums it up for future. We got some other stuff planned, but we can't mention right now. But the filming should be pretty interesting. And I just finished a UFO case last week where we had to take off and go see for sure what had happened. That turned out pretty interesting.
What was it? What was it, Chris?
A case that we did last week that we had to leave, and that was a pretty interesting UFO case. We do quite a few. Go ahead.
No, can you talk about it or?
No, we can't give out case information,
okay.
But
okay.
I can say that usually we get in Mufon, just in the United States alone, around 500 to 20 cases a month.
Wow. So tell us about that. Just give us a little background about your role with Mufon, please.
I'm a certified field investigator, and I also work and counsel those who have had experiences, or it could be even abductions. We help those people, basically help them come to grips and understand what they experience. Because a lot of people, when they have these experiences, they don't have any explanation for it. They feel hurt, or sometimes feel depressed or even angry over it. We've had cases where people have had missing time. They get they'll be in one room or they'll see a bright light, and the next thing you know, it's 2 hours later. And they have no explanation for it.
Right. And for people who maybe have, secretly desired that to happen, that's all well and good. But for the unsuspecting, I was walking down the toilet paper aisle in the grocery store, and the next thing I know, my life turned upside down. So that must be hard for them.
It is. I actually, when you mentioned that, I spoke to a gentleman a few weeks ago, and I can talk about this. He didn't know I did Mufon for a living, and when he found out, he wanted to pull me aside and tell me a story. He said when he was a young kid, he was out on the farm picking corn. He saw a bright light, and next thing he knew, he was at his front doorstep with a sack of corn in his hand, and he had no recollection of anything in between that.
Wow.
And he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Chris, I'm telling you the truth." And when people look straight at me, go ahead.
He knew that something happened, though. A lot of times they don't know that something happened.
Yeah, he knew because he saw the light, and next thing he knew, he was at his doorstep. And he said he never experienced anything like that in his life, but he said that was definitely a memorable experience.
Yeah. That. Have you had experiences?
Just when I was a kid, when I had that one sighting, that is the only UFO experience I've ever had. I've had some paranormal experiences, but only one UFO experience so far.
Interesting.
Now, after working with people that have had experiences like that, taken on board a ship, and maybe through hypnosis or however they were able to remember, and interacting with extraterrestrials, do you have gotten a picture or an idea of what the mentality and the consciousness of the extraterrestrials are Are they mostly here to help, or don't they even care? Or what can you say about their mentality and how they feel about us?
They are here. They are here to help us, and they don't come with any harm. They're actually protecting our planet and the universe. They live, of course, up there, and they fly around, and we are like their, I want to say like their children. All the planets and everything, they're out to help and protect us. A lot of the experiences that we get in Mufon when we work with people, a lot of them is positive because they feel healed or more spiritual. Their spirituality has raised. Their vibrations have gone up, and they find it more of like a religious experience. We don't usually get too many negative experiences. It's usually positive.
Yeah. I suppose there is both kinds. There are people that want to help us, and maybe somebody that is here just for observation. They don't really care. They just kind of like look at us as maybe a rabbit farm, just maybe something like that. They just want to observe. You think?
Right. That's very true. We had a story that I heard where a person had been abducted, and they went under hypnosis to recall what they experienced. And when they came out of hypnosis, they felt even more spiritualness. They had a very high vibration, and they said that it was they didn't feel like there was any harm done to them. They actually felt like it was more of a family type thing.
Right. Wow. I mean, there have been people who have had experiences and come back and could do things they never did before, like do quantum physics, or suddenly they're blatantly psychic, or they have skills that they never had before.
Yeah, there's been people that have had, they weren't psychic until after their experience, and then they found themselves more able to, actually, we've had people that have, that they can actually predict things. They can even speak to these ETs in some cases. I've heard stories where people could begin to communicate and communicate for several years because the ETs would give them advice and help them through life. I mean, there's been people that have spent years being helped in their life after their first experience, which might have been 10 years prior, but after 10 years, they're still speaking with these extraterrestrials.
Wow. Wow. Do you think that sometimes ETs are assigned to certain people, or?
I kind of wonder that because there's stories I've heard where people felt like they were being everything was specifically dedicated towards them, which kind of makes me wonder if maybe these ETs don't, I'm sure they have a plan, which is why they would pick out certain people. And from some of the stories I heard, I can't give out names or anything, but some people have felt very, very, I don't want to use the term, extremely, like the ETs really healed them and gave them a much better life after their experience.
Yeah. That's amazing. So there's some chat going on in the chat room. What about so I know my dog can see spirits. What about animals sensing, seeing, experiencing ETs? Any data on that?
I haven't heard. Yeah, I've heard a few stories where a few dogs have actually they sensed something was coming, and then it was moments after that when a blue light came through a window, and that's when the experience began for the person or whoever was involved. And animals can also sense spirits, such as like past loved ones. And we had a paranormal case once where a animal was in the corner where the homeowner used to sit, and the animals were rubbing up against the homeowner, but you couldn't see the homeowner, and it was like two were still bonding together. It was quite emotional.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating.
And then we have cats and dogs. They see stuff. They start looking in a certain direction, and they're standing there barking at the wall, and there's nothing there except a wall, and you know they see something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So what about? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to say I had it.
You go.
I was going to say I had a cat last year that passed away, and I can still sense and feel her around sometimes, like he is still making his rounds and still present.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a white Himalaya with blue eyes, and you always tell when it was around, and I still do sometimes.
Aw, I love that. I love that. Oh, thank you, Margaret. Margaret gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you, Margaret. That's so sweet.
Thank you.
Very nice. So Constance Victoria Briggs said that she had an experience the other night with ET in her dream state, but she was off planet. And she has the sense that they were assigned to her and like as guides. Have you heard stories like that?
I've heard stories where people have claimed that they were assigned, a certain ET was assigned to them, and they would see them in their dreams or hear them, like that telepathically they could hear them, and they were actually told, like, I'm not mistaken, that they were, I wouldn't use the term assigned, but appointed this ET with that individual, which I mean, I guess makes sense if you kind of like a life coach, if you want to call it that, maybe.
Right. That's interesting. And a lot of people have been, but it seems that right now, even more people are channeling ETs or beings from other planets or multiple beings. It comes through one channel. Lots of people are I mean, Barbara Marciniak has been channeling the Pleiadians, for what, 40, 50 years now. Cryon, Lee Carroll, just so many. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, really, if everybody could take time out to meditate and become more intuitive to their surroundings, I think a lot of people could have more experiences. I actually took some meditation classes online, and allows you to tap into your right side of the brain, which allows you to communicate more with other beings or even spirits. And once we tap into the right side of the brain and become more relaxed, we can all have more experiences. And I know a few celebrities, I won't say who, but they've actually took the same meditation classes and have begun to have experiences.
Wow. And I can't help but wonder, I mean, of course, us opening up to the higher frequencies makes 100% sense to me. But I also wonder if they can access us more readily because our vibration and our frequency is more expansive and higher. You think?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. If you have a higher vibration and you can be more in tune to what's out there, you can definitely have a more of a communication level with them. At the same token, if you have high vibrations, you can also feed off the negative, which also tries to come in at times. Because if you have a negative environment, let's say you're doing a paranormal investigation and you're in a negative environment, if you keep your vibration level high with positivity, you can feed off any and all negative that tries to come into you, like a possession.
Understood. Yeah.
Because
a quick question for you on have you or any others that work with Mufon have any drawn conclusions on what may these implants, these little chips that some are not even metallic, they are just kind of like a structure that they can't really figure out, but they find it under the skin and there is no break in the skin where it could have been put in. What is their conclusion of what is that for? Do you think it's just observation or control, or what do you think?
The implants are used as a way for the ETs to communicate and to heal remotely. They can put those implants into your, say, your arm or even maybe the back of your neck, and they can, from their standpoint, communicate with you and heal you and basically watch your health. And they can do all that remotely. Their way of performing, if I want to call it surgery or opening up and doing things to us, is at a higher level than we may ever understand. But like most cases, it all turns out to be more positive. And some people don't want to have the implants removed because they don't feel that they feel like it's helping them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So just to expand on that a little bit, what about female egg harvesting, and even women having giving hybrid birth, yet they keep the children? Any thoughts about that?
I've never heard anything about that. I've heard where people have witnessed and seen small children, ETs that are like children to the adult ETs, but I've never heard of any egg planting or giving birth. I've never even done a case like that.
Interesting, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of the chat that's going on in the I think I cut you off, Augie. I'm sorry. Dana gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Dana. Thanks, guys. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. I know I cut you off, Augie. Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking, now you're also a paranormal investigator, and I think UFO observation could be considered paranormal. It's a different arena than the spirit side of it, but for the paranormal experiences, how do we know if it is actually an extraterrestrial experience or a spirit experience? Do you have any thoughts?
Sure. If it's a paranormal experience, it's going to be more of I want to say like a homebody. It's going to have its certain areas of the location that it's at where it will roam or take its place. Like a lot of spirits that we've encountered, they tend to stay in their special chair or their special room or a place where they feel most comfortable. Whereas if it's an extraterrestrial experience, they're going to be more of like a come and go and not really stay in one place too long. There was a case a few years back where a person woke up in the middle of the night. This was a book that I'd read, and they said the extraterrestrial came through the wall and stood at the foot of their bed, and the guy was able to give details. It was all in this book. And he said that he also saw his grandfather from time to time, but he knew that wasn't his grandfather because his grandfather had a certain spot that he stood in. And so he was able to give a description of the alien, and he knew that was not the usual grandfather that came around from time to time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's gotten to the point now that someone that at least look at the evidence a little bit there is no way to explain it away anymore.
Right.
I don't think it can be done. There's a guy on YouTube that's called Bruce
Take its
Sees
place.
All. He's got a telescope that is bigger than me, and he's pointing that at the moon every day. And he sees ships
there's a guy
on YouTube around the moon.
Bruce
He sees structures, buildings, huge buildings on the surface of the moon, and we didn't put it there.
Oh no.
So
There's a telescope
that is probably their home base. And then, because there was another guy that retired from working at NORAD in Colorado, he said that when they point the radar dishes at the moon, there are times when they can see ships going back and forth, like swarms of them. The one time he talked about, there was 62 or 4 ships that came from the moon to Earth. And then when they got close to Earth, they dispersed and went different places.
Yeah, there's a lot of different planets that are similar to Earth, and they have, you might want to say, life on there as well. We have yet to explore those planets, but there are numerous telescopes, and I've researched a lot of them, and I'd like to have one if I get one sometime. And you can really see great details. And what would be interesting is to be able to have a camera set up on one of those telescopes and capture or film these ships as they flow by. You can really make details.
Yeah. For the people that you have worked with, have they talked about their communications with, or speaking with the extraterrestrial, and what they were actually talking about? What did the ET tell them?
Well, I can't give out too much details on that, but
Don't mention names, no names,
No.
just
right.
general terms.
I do know that extraterrestrials, when they do speak, they normally are telling, like, in the future life, you're going to have this, you're going to accomplish this, or various things. It's more like a kind of like a father-son type relationship. And
it often stays in the family, doesn't it?
right. In most cases, we get upwards of, just in Illinois, where I live alone in Illinois, we have up to 17 cases a month. And generally what we do with these cases is we investigate and we rule out all the possibilities, because a lot of cases we get that people submit to us can be anything from drones, planes, reflections off camera lenses, watermarks. There's been cases where people have submitted birds, and when you zoom in, you can tell it's a bird, not a spaceship. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these cases that we get, of course, we check with radar flights to see what flights were in the area, what was the weather conditions going on, what was the temperature, all these different factors that go into giving us what might this possibly be that they saw. And in most cases, if we rule all that out and still have no explanation for it, then we usually classify it as unknown. Mm. Now, if the object moved, we classify it as an unknown aerial object. And we can get a lot of unknowns, and every now and then we get some that are unknown aerial vehicles where we actually saw the move in the sky. And people will submit videos and photo evidence that back all this up.
And is it only in the sky? I mean, have you heard reports of people going underwater to bases, or?
I've never done any cases involving underwater. I've heard of a few, but we interview a lot of people that we work with, witnesses, yeah. And they tell us their stories, and usually we have ways of deciphering, like getting information out, because there's questions we can ask them they might not think to tell us, which gives us more details as to their sightings. Like, if you were standing at this side of the street, what would you have witnessed? And then they'll tell us, well, I would have saw the markings on the ship. And then, well, they weren't. We take that, write all that down, and put that in our reports.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what is, actually, Marius had a question. He asked, are the phenomenal beings here to help us improve life and harmony?
I believe they are. I believe that they're out there and coming around to help us improve our lives and make everything as better, if you want to call it that. They're out there to raise our vibrations and heal us and try to make life more comfortable.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering too, many of these extraterrestrials are telepathic. Do you think, or have anybody that Mufon has ever talked to, have they heard anything from them? If it is a natural state of telepathy, or is it induced by electronics, which we now can do? Have you heard anything about that?
I've not heard anything on that particular topic. I do know that they have a lot more, I want to say, tools as far as being able to communicate and make their presence known. Their electronical state is at a higher level than we may ever experience. They have the techniques and the technology to even travel through time, from what I've heard. And
Yeah.
of course, we don't have that, but we are learning and trying to come up with better ways and more tools to contact them and communicate with them more.
Yeah.
So
I
what
know
about-
there's a lot. Go
ahead,
ahead,
Art.
Mary.
No, you go. I think we're going to ask the same question.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm going to give it a shot. There's a lot of people out there that poo-pooing channelers. But let's think about that for just a second. If someone have an experience taken on a ship and they come back and they are much more psychic than they were before, or if they have an implant where they can communicate with these extraterrestrials and don't know they have the implant, what is the difference then if they are suddenly starting to come up with a channel information from someone that named themselves and tell them that, hey, I'm here talking to you, you just tell everybody else? That channel could be perfectly natural explained.
Right. There's a lot of people that can have experiences and not realize it, because these extraterrestrials, whenever they take you up aboard their spacecraft, they actually will erase your memory so you don't remember the experience, because they don't want you to and there's reports and people that we have where people don't remember, and psychic, and that's where the hypnosis comes into play, because if they want to have hypnosis, we can recall a lot of that information back to them. But some people actually say that once they go under hypnosis and they give us the information or things like that, they want us to allow them to forget about it again, because they don't want it on their conscious mind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Go, Mary.
what do you think about, there are many people who are meeting in groups in different parts of the world and out in the desert, and, meditating and joining like-mindedness in order to invite them in. Anything on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of groups and people that do what is known as a CE5 contact, where a group of people will come together and they use an application on their phone. I actually have it on my phone, and you can do these tones and meditation and call out the extraterrestrials. And in fact, my first experience using and doing the CE5 contact, I did it alone. And after I did the contact, I did not see the craft, but living out in the country, we had every farm animal and coyotes, everything started howling and carrying on. So they might have witnessed it, but I didn't. It was like over 100 animals in the forest just started howling.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What do you think about alien interference in what we are doing? I got a quick little example I want to mention. You probably about a year ago did hear about Elon Musk. He was sending up a rocket with a satellite from Facebook. And when we saw the rocket on the ramp, there was this UFO flying right by it at the very same time it exploded. Did you see that one?
Yes, that was very, very interesting. And
Yeah.
I would like, if I could, I would like to interview him sometime and just get his take on the whole thing. Just hear it from him to me and ask him a few questions, because that's not something you see every day, and that really did stick in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do
I
you
heard
become a MUFON investigator? How does that happen?
To be a Mufon field investigator, you have to you can go online and to mufon.com, and there's a page where you can purchase the Mufon Field Investigator's Handbook. When you buy the book, just read the book, memorize it the best you can, and then you will go to Mufon University. It's kind of like a little college-like area, and you can take the Field Investigator's examination. And you're allowed 3 chances. You're allowed 3 chances to take the examination, and then you have to wait 6 months. If you fail all 3 times, it's a 6-month wait period.
Wow.
Once you pass examination, which is all multiple choice questions, and you score at least 89% on the test or around there, and if you pass, you will get a certificate of completeness. It says you are now a field investigator, and you will, within a few weeks, be contacted by your state director, wherever you're from, and then you will begin learning the procedures, learning the online information, and how to use the what we call the CMS, case management system. And the case management system is where you will conduct all of your investigations, fill out all the forms and names and everything. And you will be trained for all that and begin your first investigation, your first case.
Very cool.
Very
Very cool.
I got a question. Yeah,
Go ahead,
Nori.
Go, Augie. No, you go. You go.
I do have a question, because you have a degree in space science. What about what happens when a spaceship get into and is starting to go through the Van Allen belt? What does it feel like in the spacecraft, or what is the temperature? What is happening with the electronic interference in the Van Allen belt?
The electronic interference, because the temperature is going to get a lot warmer as you get closer into it. And that can cause, of course, interference with the electronics involving the spaceship. But the closer you get, the warmer it gets. And I really can't speculate much more, other than, as far as I know, it'll get much warmer.
Yeah.
We've had...
That's true. It does get much warmer, but it also has, there's more electromagnetic radiation. Is somewhat similar, that if you take a aluminum spoon and put it in a microwave and turn it on, you got sparks going everywhere.
Yep.
That was the first question. And the second one is, because of that, did the United States fake the moon landing? What do you think?
I don't think they faked the moon landing, but I think there is a possibility that there might be more than what they're letting on to us. I know that there's a lot more to the ETs and space and quantum physics, that information other people may have, they have yet to share with us because they're still trying to figure it out themselves in many ways.
Yeah, there's so much that speaks against that, actually. If you look at the LEM sitting on the moon's surface, it isn't all that big.
No.
And then they take off. Where was the fuel that they needed to make it from the surface into orbit? Look at the fuel they needed to lift off here. But of course, you know, there's only 1/4, a little more than 1/4 the gravity and up there, so you wouldn't need as much. But in that little compartment, could that be fuel enough to get them from the surface into orbit? Anybody that believes that, I got some swampland in western Nebraska where you can go hunt crocodiles every day of the week. Then you can buy it cheap.
And you talked
I
about
don't buy it. But they've been on the moon, but they didn't go in tin can. That's my explanation. And
so go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you talked about the electronics and what have you, but another thing too to mention is that most UFO encounters, spaceship encounters, usually when they fly over, you'd be surprised how many people claim that they have equipment malfunction. Cameras will immediately shut off. Cell phones will start going haywire.
Yeah.
Even reports of electricity going off, and then as soon as the spaceship is passed over, everything powers right back up.
So let's talk about disclosure.
No, Nori, go ahead.
No, yeah. What do you think about disclosure? Where are we in the disclosure trajectory? I think it's been happening for a long time. What do you think?
It has. It's been going on for several years. And we're just now starting to get more and more involved in learning and finding out more info. If you look back to way back in the 50s and even the late 40s, when people were having experiences and encounters, and the government, a lot of these places would write it off saying it's nothing more than, say, weather balloons or crash dummies, nothing to worry about. And then as years went on, more people began to realize, okay, this is not a crash dummy, or this is not a weather balloon or a Goodyear blimp or whatever. This is for real because I witnessed this. And as more people over the years began to come forward with their stories and experiences, that's when the government slowly started saying, well, it is possible. And now, here we are in the 2022, and the government is now starting to say, well, we admit that there is stuff going on. We do have information, and they're starting to release it. But what I wonder is, okay, they're releasing us, giving us this information. How much more information are they not giving us, and will they give us any more information? Because there might be a greater level of information and files and stuff maybe they don't want us to know.
But it's been weaved into normal life, you know, television shows, movies, commercials, you know, they're really normalizing, you know, being in the elevator with an extraterrestrial, you know, that's disclosure. Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're being conditioned.
And what?
We're being conditioned, spoon-fed a little bit at a time, and there will be a day when there will be bigger spoons.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
So-
think
There's a person in the chat room, His Majesty King David James Stormborn says that disclosure doesn't happen for two reasons. One, aliens think this is an insane asylum where we are all inmates and where all the inmates are armed. And two, we need more open minds to accept that we are not alone. What do you think about that?
it's true. I mean, we're not alone. We never will be. There's much more up there than what we'll ever. The farther we explore, the deeper in the space we get, the more we're going to discover. And on the same level, the more questions we're going to have. Because I believe that the more answers you get leads to more questions.
Yes.
And if we all took time in our lives to just go outside, clear your minds, erase all your worries and everything that's going on from day-to-day life, just relax, and you'd be able to see and probably have a better understanding of things. Because there's an old saying, why do angels fly? Because they take their lives so lightly.
That's cute. I like that. But really what you're talking about, underneath that again is our vibration, our frequency, our receptivity to
Right.
to what's really happening. I mean, it's really happening. And if you're all tense and balled up and you're in a ball of density, because you're so stressed, well, then your frequency is going to be dank and heavy and not conducive, to contact.
Well, it's just like when we do our paranormal investigating shows. A lot of the homeowners will make comments about wanting to see their loved ones or feel their children or their past relatives.
This is Waddy.
And they want to know why they don't have more experiences. And because they're so wound up in their day-to-day life with bills, jobs, and various things that they're not in tune with what's going on. They don't have that free vibration, that free conscious to let it in.
That makes good sense.
Another group of people that have an easier way probably to see them ships is pilots. And I'm a retired pilot, and I know from sitting around the pilot lounges at hundreds and hundreds of airports around the country and a few countries, when I talk to pilots about UFOs, there's three categories. One of them say, yeah, sure, I've seen one, I've seen 10, I've seen them. And then another category say, no, I haven't seen anything, but I don't know, they're probably out there. And then there's another category, just don't want to talk about it. Not at all. You can't even bring up the subject, they walk off on you. And those are the ones that have seen something, but they don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. There's a lot of pilots that have had, not to say a lot, but several pilots that I've heard where they've had encounters and a ship would come right next to them and just take off. I mean, faster than they could fly. And yeah, it's definitely an experience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen them too. And then again, there is bases under the water in the Caribbean.
Well, in other places.
Yeah, I know. You got to talk more about that sometime, Nori.
I will someday. I will. What do you notice? Do you notice a trend in the demographics of people who report their sightings or experiences to Mufon?
What you want to elaborate on that more?
Yeah, I mean, do you notice that it's people between 30 and 55 and more men than women, or is it really a mixed bag?
I think it's mixed, but it does seem to be more. I want to say people who are in their between their 30s and 60s. Because I don't think children, even if they did see something, would really know how to identify it or what to make of it. But it's mostly like say between 30s and 60s,
Mhm.
and it's a mix between men and women. We get reports from women just as good as men.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm.
So what's next for you? What do you have coming up? I know you have some, um, for lack of a better word, paranormal investigating going on. Yeah.
Some cases coming up, and we have some trips planned, and even some Mufon activities planned. I got a few talk shows lined up in the next few months, and basically going to try to get my photography business up and running, up going even further. I've been neglecting that a little bit for a lot of UFO stuff. I'm going to be starting some online photography courses soon, and getting into some movies. We're doing a film on rock and roll coming up soon, and just getting out there and enjoying life. I don't take any of this work that I do as work. I value it all as just enjoyment and fun, which makes it. If you don't take your work too serious and you just relax, it can be more fun. Like here tonight, just relax and enjoy.
Exactly. Exactly. And where can people find you? Do you have a website, or do you have an email address where people, or can people, where can people contact you to make a report for MUFON?
If anybody has a report or like to file a report, they can go to mufon.com, and on the front page there's a option for filing a sightings report if you saw something, and then there's a report for those who've had abductions. They can go to a different category, and then if they go to the sightings report, they will be asked to fill out a questionnaire and answer a few questions, and then that report will get sent to the person who's in charge of that state, and then that state director will give the report to the field investigator that he feels is best suited for that report. Because every report that comes into MUFON has got a different characteristicness to it. Like some might involve photography, which would be handed to me. Some might involve more of a maybe do with aircrafts, which might be more suited for this particular person based on qualities and type of report.
Interesting. And one more question that we only have about 4 minutes left. Marius was wondering, has there been an increase in sightings and an increase in investigators coming online to help?
We've had a lot of new field investigators in the last, say, couple of years. I've actually got a few investigators I might be training in the near future that I actually work with at a grocery store. I've been in the grocery business for about 24 years, as well as doing all this. And I've been able to get a lot of people interested, and they want to join.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, Augie, we have 3 minutes. Do you want to ask Chris your famous question before we go?
Oh yes, I absolutely would like to. Chris, if you could speak to the whole world and the world were listening, what would you tell them?
If I could speak to the whole world, I would tell them to gather, become more in tune with life, and raise their vibrations, let their worries vanish, and just what this whole world has to offer, because we're filling it with so much negativity and evil. And I won't say evil, but so much negativity that we've kind of lost the enjoyment of life. There's so much to enjoy that has been put down and left.
Yeah.
That's good stuff
Well-
to say. Thank you so much. Want to take us
That's-
out, Augie?
Yes, that is what we all need to do. And thank you for being with us, Christopher. And this was good. And wish you luck. And then until next week, be good to each other.
Bye, everybody. Thanks,
you.
Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Live long and prosper.